Welcome to MSP Unplugged, episode number 38, Windows Training. I'm your host, Jeff Halash. This is our live show where we discuss different ways to run your IT business, whether it's managed services, consulting, break fix, or anything in between. Let me introduce the co-hosts. We have Paco Lebron from ProdigyTeks. Paco, how you doing?
Oh, like my good friend likes to say, John Davinsky, better than I deserve.
Awesome, man. Good to have you. And right above to the left of him, we have DougBetts from Computer Age Consulting and LiveWindowsTraining.com. How you doing, Doug?
I'm doing good, Jeff. Hello, Paco.
Good to have you guys on the show today. All right, so let's go ahead and start off the show as we normally do and have a little tip or story that we could learn from. And Paco, I'm going to go ahead and kick it off to you because I know that you prepared at least 2 minutes ago.
That's absolutely true, Jeff. I always go through it before the show and see on my calendar and what the heck did I do? So I'm going to leave it with two. One, a suggestion. The other is a tip on what you should figure out. Right now, so we hired our new tech this past Monday. And as I mentioned in previous shows, we are going through the process of trying to make everything as transparent as possible for our just our processes, tools, and things like that. What we found to be very helpful is going into Microsoft Teams and actually recording certain videos of what we're doing. And I think we got this from, I think your suggestion from reading Mike McAllowitz's latest book, Clockwork. I think it was the name of it. So we started doing that. The team has really loved that piece of it because they have something to reference and there's actually now a go-to versus a document to kind of run through. So I would suggest those that are trying to replicate something, whether it's on a webinar, to a client, even to your own team if you have employees, use a software like, if you're using Teams or Google Drive, or Google Meet or anything of that nature, even Zoom, you can record your videos as you're going through and kind of toss it over to there, which Doug will be able to enlighten us later on in the show on how he's doing his Windows training for all his clients and for what he does there. Second piece of it is we are in the end of October. So everyone really should be strategizing for, if they're not doing it for the end of the year, at least for 2021. So I highly suggest you really start thinking about that. And this is a tip that I had before, but really leverage your vendors. Really figure out what your network has as far as marketing materials, ability, if they have funds that can back you, things of that nature. We kind of went through this week and did some research to try and figure out, what does all of our partners have as far as support for us to gain more leads, more clients. And it's amazing on how much marketing resources, information, and things of that nature that our vendors and partners have. So I implore you, if you are partnering with outsourcing vendors, for your own computer business, IT business, really leverage your vendors because they probably have a lot of resources that you can use that may be included in what you're paying for.
Very good. And going back to what you had talked about before about making instructional videos, I think that the nice thing about that is if you have to update something, you just go make a new video. So most people, and I'm going to say most people because this is true, in IT suck at documentation. I'm just calling it out like it is. And I'm guilty of it too. So there's that. But if you think about it, it's really easy. You can grab your iPhone if you have one of those, or you can have, your Android phone or whatever it might be. Yeah, whatever. And so you can take your phone and you can basically use a front facing camera, take a video, show something, kind of set it up on even a little tripod or tripod, or, just lean it against something, take some video of what you're doing. I know Mike McAllowitz in his book, Clockwork, I think he used it for how they sent out product. And it was so ingenious because it's like, hey, here's the process you go through. Here's the website you go to get the postage. Here's how you package the box. Here's the things you need to make sure that are in the box. All these different things that we just think of as when we do it on our own, it's easy. But when somebody else has to do it, we want it done our way. A video is probably the best and easiest way for anybody to be able to go, how did they do that again? And they can watch it over and over and over again. So that's
what really
big.
helps too with that is, you probably thought something worked the same way after X amount of years. And when you go through it, you realize a certain change you may have made or something of that nature where, I was going through our contracts piece in Synchro and how the update the adjustments of pricing. And it turns out that I made a change that I completely forgot about, which would have contradicted what I was trying to do. So it allowed me to actually fix it too. So John calls this making sure you have your hands on everything, because it allows you, when you do this documentation, that you really should be the one kind of going through everything, because you will realize sometimes that there were things missed, and it allows you to audit and help kind of make sure all those things are fixed.
Very good. All right, and let's go with that. We have Doug. What do you have for us this week?
Well, my tip was when you're talking with a client, maybe they've called you, they're having troubles with something, and you're going to talk them through a solution over the phone. Keep in mind they do not understand our industry terminology. Even things that we don't think are really a specific terminology, they may not understand. And to give a couple of examples, I've had situations, well, by habit and by routine now, I usually, if I want somebody to click on the start button, say click on the start button. That's that button in the bottom right corner of your screen. It looks like a 4 partition box. And if I don't do that, I've had occasions where I say press the start button, and then I say, oh, okay, what do you see now? And well, nothing. The computer shut off because they've pressed the power button on the computer, because that's what they do. That's what they press to start the computer. I had another occasion with a client was having a network connectivity issue. So I said, find the Ethernet cable on the back of your computer. And she had a switch on the side of her desk. So she knew the Ethernet cables, and I talked to her about identifying the Ethernet cables. Now go find that where that plugs into the back of your computer, unplug it, and then plug it back in. And she says, there isn't one. There's 2 wires here, and she's describing them, and they're just not making sense. I say, well, can you take a picture of that with your cell phone and send it to me? And she sent me a picture of the back of her monitor. I said, well, no, the computer is the box that's on the floor. So I could have explained that from the beginning. Go find the Ethernet cable on the computer. I think yours is on the floor. It's a separate box from your monitor. So it's amazing what simple little terms that we think everybody understands, and they don't. So just volunteer that any opportunity you can. That would be it.
Very good. Thank you. And I will say that, Doug, let's be honest. Most people in our industry don't even understand the terminology that we try to use in this stupid industry. So there's that too.
Yeah.
We make it more and more complicated because, things sound cool. Just because it sounds cool doesn't mean it is cool. Sometimes simple is best. I like that. All right. So let's see. I have my tip or story or whatever you want to call it. So I have a new standing desk, and I'm using it today to actually do the podcast so that I can stand up and keep energized. Not that you guys put me to sleep, but it's tiring sitting down all the time. So I got everything done yesterday. And what I did was I made sure, because here's one thing you need to make sure. And I think everybody probably finds out in a not so good way when this happens. When you're raising and lowering a desk, and I thought I had gotten most of it, but there was a couple of cables that I kind of had missed. It's best when you're wiring your desk up to have it in the farthest up position, as high as it can go, so that when you make your adjustment from high when you're standing to low when you're sitting, you're not pulling any cables out or breaking
or unplugging any monitors.
Yes, or tipping any monitor. Yeah, there's all kinds of things, all kinds of bad things that can happen. So most of my wires, now I was able to do this where most of my wires are basically underneath the back end of the desk, and they're all hidden in little cubby hole things little plastic things that I bought, little J channels is what they call them. You can shove a lot of that stuff in there. And then my desk came with some things where I've got some power bricks, because I've got my side monitors for whatever reason are older monitors, and they have the powered brick instead of having the the power supply inside the monitor where you just plug in a regular cord. So I was able to get this all up neat and everything. And I basically have, coming off of a watt box, I've got a 12-port watt box that I mounted to the underside of this so I could plug things in. I basically have one cable going into my outlet. That's it. Up and down. Everything else is attached to the desk. So whatever moves on the desk will move along with it. So just make sure that you double check that when you do get a standing desk of any sort. Always make sure that you've got enough cable length to get you from where you need to be. Okay.
Can I add one more? When you're going to be a guest on a show, be sure to coordinate shirts with the other participants.
That is funny. Yeah, somehow we all picked the same color shirt today. So, yeah, it's bright festive day. It is pretty funny. And they're the same style shirts. You can tell we're all old except for Paco. Because we're wearing polos. Well, Paco, you're kind of in that crew now.
Yeah, I'm starting to get there. So.
All right, very cool. Okay, so let's go ahead and I want to hear a little bit from Doug. Doug, give us a little background of where you started and how you got to be here. We want to hear your background origin story.
Okay, so this is a test of memory. Let's see, my first full-time computer job would have been 1989. I think I'm saying that right now. I think I have that number actually on my website. and I researched it to make sure. Prior to that, a few years prior to that, I was working for another company, and I noticed that my boss had a IBM PC, I think it was called PC-1, under a dust cover in a back bedroom in his house. I said, what's that for? And he says, well, I bought it for my business and I can't get it to work. I said, can I try? So I took it home, and that was the beginning of how I found my way around computers, reading through DOS and a program called Symphony, which is big brother to Lotus 1-2-3. And about 6 months later, I had it ready. I pitched it to him, had it all set up to operate his business off of that. I got promoted into the office and ran his business off of that computer for a while.
Nice.
For a few years. And then I got a full-time job teaching computer classes to business people, where people would come in for half a day or something like that to learn Microsoft Word or WordPerfect back in those days in DOS. And then 1992, I opened up my own business, Computer Age Consulting. And that I provide okay. Now, break fix. Okay. Just gone. What do we call that? Break fix operation. I don't have any contracts. It's just not my work preference style. So I do all break fix. It's just me, and I love it. I have great relationships with my client. I have a very comfortable, stable business there. So most of my clients are anywhere from one computer up to 40 computers in office environments. Most of my home computers that I work on are the home computers for business clients.
Very cool.
Does that answer the question?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
So it sounds like you've been in the industry for a long time. And I don't blame you. The stupid terminology that somebody came up with, calling things break fix. I've said this time and time again, even on a contract, if you have a contract and something breaks, somebody needs a password reset or something like that, guess what you're doing? You're on the phone, you're fixing it. That's called break fix, but whatever. That's just me and my simplistic thinking. I try to make things very simple. So you never heard the term, obviously back in 89, the term break fix. MSP obviously was definitely not a term at that point. Now, recurring revenue, managed services, that stuff's been around since the beginning of time, but Well, it sounds like you have a very, very in-depth background, and it sounds like you actually like to help your clients and teach them to be able to do things that they want to do on a daily basis, whether it's for work or recreation, I would imagine. And that is a rare gift, because a lot of people, they will tell you they just don't have the patience for that. And it's hard sometimes. I know I love remote support because you can get in and see the computer. Now, I still use Instant House Call, and it's fairly easy to get in the computer. I can take them to my website and point them to a little box, click it, and they have to answer a couple questions, and that's it. And they're in. And so I can take a look at their computer, see what's going on. Hey, show me what's happening. They'll walk me through the process. Going in and trying to do phone support only, I would rather stick two forks in my eye and twist them for the end of time before I would ever want to do that, because it's just so frustrating. So I give you kudos for anybody who's ever done that. All right, so let's go ahead and talk about, well, tell a little bit about your YouTube channel, because obviously you've got the chops and you've been doing the computer, fixes for years. But what prompted you to go in and start a YouTube channel called Live Windows Training?
Well, that has a lot to do with the comment you just made, that I do love to help clients, and I do that over the phone or through remote connections or on site, obviously, and I do it through cell phone pictures, so a wide variety of things. And I will admit to being a patient person. That is something that I'm pretty good with, and recognize that. But I had a frustration with my business clients because I'm billing them by the hour. I feel a responsibility to get to it, get the job done, and don't really have the freedom to provide much extra training, much extra conversation around the subject that we're dealing with. And a lot of my clients, there are so many features that could be useful and helpful to them that they just don't know. And if I were able to sit down with them for an extended time and show them this, show them that, I think they'd have a more enjoyable experience with their computers. So putting one piece here and a piece there, I experimented with different things that I might be able to do with providing online services. And one of the big turnkey aha moments is when I discovered Kerry Holzman. And that's because his videos are unedited. And he just does his thing, or sometimes he's mostly talking, or he's working on computers, whatever, and he does not edit. And I thought, wow, I like that. And so I added that with a lot of experience with connecting remote to clients' computers, not so much for maintenance, like you would do for the MSP work, but for working through a problem with them, where they're active with me in the remote session and I'm finding the solution, having them show me the problem. And so I'm pretty good at being able to have that experience with them. And I thought, man, if I just make YouTube videos of doing this, I think people would enjoy watching those and they would be able to learn from those. So putting two and two and two and two and two together from different online providers, I've now got this set up where the way it works is basically somebody sends me an email to DougBetts at LiveWindowsTraining.com, request a session. We'll set up a remote session, hit the live streaming button on my end, and we record the session, however it works out. And it's just the honest, plain truth of computer consulting work, including, as Kerry would say, the mistakes and good, bad, ugly, warts. I'm not sure what words he actually uses, but he makes the point of showing the real work of computer support.
Yeah, that's very true. And yeah, a lot of times, I know he does a fair amount of editing, but he really gets a lot of just the realness. And that's really what people like. They like a real person. So that's a great idea to sit down. You're killing two birds with one stone. Not that we're into killing birds. Don't send me any emails. I don't want to hear it. But if you take that time and you're already sitting down with a client anyways, you record that session, you're helping somebody through that, then that's evergreen, which means it's around forever and can be used on a regular basis in order for people to go back. So the next time a customer asks you about something, you can send them a link in an email, and obviously tell them you're sending them a link so they don't click on it, just willy-nilly, all that kind of good stuff. But you can get them the information, or you can say, hey, go to my YouTube channel and get that thing out there. So that's, I think that's genius. That's the way to go.
I neglected to mention it's free. So the person I'm working with, they don't pay any money for it, because they're providing the value of helping me create a video. And I think down the road, I will earn more money from the video. And the funny thing is, here's the joke of it. I'm finding it hard to get people to do this session with me. I haven't put out a lot of effort of getting people. I think I've probably have about, I don't know, half a dozen different people that I have videos out there on, and maybe I think more than 20 live sessions recorded. But currently I only have, I believe, 5 subscribers to the channel. So it's in its infancy. And there's a whole lot I have in mind for what I'd like this to develop to in various different ways, and for the technical community. I'd like to get sessions with other technicians to explore more technical concepts, dive into the registry, dive into the task scheduler and event viewer, things like that. Find a good repeatable fix for this horrible problem where the network type changes from private to public. That you're both shaking your heads. Yes, you know that. But here's the joke of it. It's a self-deprecating joke intended to be. I'm so good, I can't give my services away. I've had to talk a couple of people into doing this. Yes, this is valuable to me. They feel like they're cheating me if they're not paying me.
Well, I think when it comes down to that, I've never refused anybody sending me money for any particular reason. But no, my question to you, Doug, would be, do people, and I feel even on this podcast, to get people to come out and share their story, share maybe some of the things they're going through, or even just to share, wins and different things in their business, how they do business. It's hard. And I think a lot of times it's because people are a little camera shy. They don't want to come out. They don't want to put themselves out. They'll write a dissertation on a Facebook group, which I don't understand. I'm like going, I'd much rather come and talk. What's that, Paco?
Or a complaint.
Yeah. So I would wonder if a lot of people are actually a little afraid of maybe coming out and being on camera and all that kind of stuff, and sharing what they're doing. Now, are they on camera, or is just their computer screen on camera? How do you do that?
They're on camera. I have them on a Zoom session. So they're on camera with me for some parts of the session. I've got a Stream Deck here. I hit a button and I bring up their computer screen on camera. And typically our Zoom pictures are on a little inset thumbnail on the side. And each time that we go to another screen, I'll blur their screen if I think that there might be some private information. So I do a lot of things with blurring, but I've been surprised. I anticipated they would be reluctant to be on camera. That really has not worked out to be their voiced concerns. Their voiced concerns so far have only been about receiving free help and not paying for it because they expected to pay for it. And what was that other piece? Oh, another interesting thing is the people that I have done the videos with, not one of them has asked me, where can I go to see the video? I thought they would.
I don't think people want to watch themselves, to be honest with you. I mean,
that's a point.
I don't go back and really, the only reason I will go back and watch a video of mine is to kind of check the lighting after YouTube does all its compression and stuff like that. Cause I don't do anything to the videos here. We do it live to drive. mostly because I'm lazy and I'm not going to edit videos. It's hard enough to edit a audio podcast. So that's why I do that. So when you look at those things, that's the only time where I can get a little bit, oh yeah, the lighting's a little off. Let me make some adjustments next time or whatever. So Paco, what types of things when it comes to training your customers do you think about, or maybe what are some of the frustrations that come about on a regular basis for you when it comes to, training customers to do one thing or another?
What is the support number to X vendor so we can contact them so they can go ahead and take care of your event? Oh, it's a Microsoft OneDrive issue. Here is the Office 365 phone number for you to give a call to figure out. No, but in all seriousness, I think it really depends on what they're asking training for. I think that's why it's very important to eat your own dog food, live in the environments that your clients are in, just so you could be knowledgeable about it. I mean, I can think of one scenario where we were a G Suite house for many years in the beginning of the company. We recently had switched to Microsoft 365 about 2 years ago because a majority of our clients were on Microsoft 365. So it was a big learning curve, but we have now since been able to understand how that environment works, much different than the G Suite environment that we were used to. And it allowed us to really understand some of the complaints and some of the difficulty that our clients were trying to understand with, things as simple as OneDrive, right? And the proper way of sharing documents and things of that nature. So really that's kind of the quote unquote difficulty, is because Microsoft is always changing things. So that's always the fun part. So trying to keep up with that and just some of the new tools and items that they have to make your job more efficient, to allow to inform your clients when things are coming out as well.
Well, I think when it comes to Microsoft is a great example of, it's somewhat complicated because it's a very powerful tool and it will give you 10 different ways to do something. But on the flip side of that, again, going back to the simplicity, sometimes keeping things simple would be better. But then you would have the people on the other side of the fence that would complain and say, well, I want to be able to do this way. And I'm kind of getting to the point, and I think technology is hard because I think as people get older, these companies really need to start thinking about in the future of making things simpler for the average user, which is most of their customer base, to be able to use their product in a way that's going to benefit them on a regular basis without changing a whole bunch of stuff up. I get a lot of comments from people that use Yahoo email, and I go, "Oi, really? Yahoo? Yeah, okay. Well, they changed the format again. Yeah, nothing I can do about that. Don't own Yahoo. I don't recommend them. I know it's a big pain. We probably should move you something a little bit different that maybe is not going to change as much and be more consistent." But but I've always had this email address. Yeah, I've always had a phone number that was the same for like the last 25 years, but it doesn't mean that if something bad happened and I needed to change it, that I wouldn't go and change it. So.
And I fight with clients all the time where they'll forward business emails from their business and Outlook to their AOL system because, we like the interface better. Negative. This is not what's going to happen anymore moving forward. This has to stop, and it's things like that where preference and security obviously are a little bit, or convenience, I should say. Convenience and security is a little bit, you got to give up one for the other. So yeah, that's kind of the fun part about all that as well, because some people are just stuck in their ways, like Mr. Jeff Halash.
I am. I'm very stuck in my. I still love technology, and Doug, I'm sure you're the same way. I'm sure you still love technology, or you wouldn't be teaching it. And it's one of those things. There's a satisfaction to getting to the end of a problem. And just to give here's a finite example. As intelligent as I think I am, I have a Corsair keyboard, RGB keyboard. I know Carrie, don't throw a hissy fit. Carrie loves the lights, but I've got a keyboard, a mouse, and a mouse pad that all light up. And back when Corsair first came out with their IQ software, you could basically take a profile, which was just a color scheme, and you could save it in the firmware on that particular device. So what would happen is when you log out of your computer, it would go to whatever was in the firmware. So you could set it up for, I know this is so stupid and geeky, but you could set it up for something that was when it's just sitting on your desk and nobody's using it, to when you go in and let's say I want to play an FPS. That's a first person shooter for those that don't know. And it lights my keys up in a certain way. So that's all I wanted to do. All I wanted to do was recreate just a generic save on the firmware on these devices. And I figured out kind of, sort of how to do it on the keyboard. Can't figure out how to reset it on the mouse. So this is one of those things where I look at the software, and the software is so powerful. You can do so many things with it, but it's so powerful that it's so complicated. And oh boy, when you ask a question on the internet now, I'm telling you, you go down 1,000 different rabbit holes, and I am not kidding. And you have to parse through a bunch of information. So Doug, when it goes back to talking about your channel, when I look at, if you can make something that simplifies it for the average person, to me, that's gold. And people, everything takes time, but I think people will really get something out of that. And I love what you talked about as far as doing something with technicians, because there are a lot of things, I'm telling you, try to Google something nowadays. And I think my Google foo is pretty decent. But man, you really have to tailor your words in how you do things when you're searching for stuff, so you don't get caught going down those rabbit holes. And it's not a problem, but here's the thing. Most of the time nowadays, when I'm searching for an in-depth fix, I will not find that exact fix. What I will find is I will find a piece of information that will point me in a direction that my brain was not going at the time. I will make a correction, and I usually end up with that information. I end up figuring it out on my own on how to fix it with the amount of experience I have working on computers. So that you got to kind of have those troubleshooting skills, especially when you're doing this stuff nowadays. I know everybody says, oh, you can just Google it. Yeah. Good luck with that. Let me know how that works out for you, because it's really not that simple anymore. That's why our businesses are never going away, because your average person is going to do whatever they can to not, I don't know how computers work. Just fix it. And when you ask for payment, well, I don't want to pay for that. Yeah, it's one or the other. Time or money. You got to pay with one. Pick one. All right. So Doug, we're now moving into the future, obviously with your channel and all the things you're doing. What are some of the things, obviously you said some of the roadblocks you're seeing is people don't really, they feel guilty about not giving you money. So me, just being the entrepreneur that I am, I would go, you know what? That's fine. If you want to pay, I'll tell you what, I'm going to half rate it for you. And if you want to pay it, that's fine. If you don't, no big deal. Either way, I'm good.
Yeah, I could do that, and I considered doing that, and I wound up deciding I really wanted to convince them how valuable their participation is in my perception. So that's the directions I've gone with those people, and I should say that the reluctance to have free help from me without paying is the only thing that they have voiced. There's been a couple comments about video. There's Patty I worked with the last 2 days. I've done a new live video yesterday and a new video with her the day before. So I've done 2 videos with her. She was referred to me by a CPA client of mine, and she expected to pay. And as a matter of fact, we did our first phone session and remote connection. She will be paying for it. We'll be sending her an invoice. But then her situation, I felt would really benefit from more time. So I pitched her this idea of doing the videos with me, and she agreed. And then at one point she asked, "Will I be on camera?" And I said, "Well, yes, that is what really adds the value." And she says, "Well, I'm gonna have to get my hair fixed then."
That's funny.
And then she was fine. She used a virtual background because she was in her bedroom. She didn't want to display her bedroom on YouTube. Fine. She was a little more privacy concerned than some of my other clients, so we were very diligent about blurring her screen when we were getting to things. There were some times when I would blur the whole screen, and then I would make adjustments in my preview window to blur out just certain sensitive sections, and then send that live so that the viewers could see most of the screen clean. But her situation is that she had a fraudulent charge to her credit card. She got an email from her credit card company that her residential address had changed at 1 a.m. She said, I didn't do that. Changed to a New York address. She's in California. And she came to find out that somebody had changed her address and bought a $2,000 Dell computer. She was able to get the charge reversed from her credit card company, but now she's concerned about her security. And she came to realize that she was using the same password on a lot of accounts, and she was advised by people, you shouldn't do that. And then she was recommended to get Norton LifeLock. She installed it, she bought it, and she said it's just a nightmare. It's just interrupting her ability to use the computer, and she hates it. So when I started working with her, and this part is on video now, is what we came to learn is that, yeah, she had Norton LifeLock, but she still had the same password on all those accounts. Because if you install the tool, but then you don't learn how to use that tool and do your homework, what you need to do, then that's pointless. So the two videos where you go through changing passwords on various accounts and teaching her how to create a secure password that's easy to record, and so it doesn't look like a password. And we use howsecureismypassword.net. And we want to have I been pawned? And we found that yes, indeed, she's been pawned 19 days ago from 30 different sites. And so we've been going through the work of changing those passwords. And I told her that I use LastPass as a password manager. But once she is done with changing these passwords and putting in the passwords using the strategy that I pointed out to her and not letting Google Chrome remember them, she'll actually be able to enter the passwords on her own. And I think she might wind up just doing that. She may go with the free version of LastPass. She describes herself as a senior citizen, but what did she call it? Fairly computer savvy is the way she described it. And I would say that's true. She is pretty good. And the Google Chrome, I pointed out to her that all these passwords that you have saved in Google Chrome, if your Google password is not secure, then the bad guys can hack into your Google account. Now they have access to all your passwords. So it's been a very teaching thing, and she is grasping those concepts. And I think the videos are just coming out beautiful for being able to teach those concepts to people about how to do a secure password, how to test your password on howsecureismypassword.net, and check to see if you've been pawned and those kind of things. And that's a training that none of my actual business clients are getting to that extent, because, they haven't asked for it. They haven't been in a situation. I get little pieces of it here and there.
Well, I'll tell you what, when it comes to, and this is something I've been doing since we're talking about passwords for residential customers, I've been encouraging, because I would love everyone to use LastPass. I use LastPass and it is invaluable to me, but I have over 350 saved passwords for different various sites and logins. I just went in last year, I just did an audit and got rid of probably 25 to 30 websites that were either defunct or whatever, and got all that information out of there. But one of the things I've been telling people is, yes, I will tell, when I'm setting something up, I will tell Google Chrome not to ever remember passwords ever. And I let them know what I'm doing and tell them, I said, listen, I'm going to be honest with you. The simplest thing probably for you to do, and it's not my recommendation, but knowing human nature and the way people are, grab a notepad and write your passwords down, put it in your desk. Because here's the thing. A lot of people will go, oh, I can't do that. I said, listen, it is better to have that on the physical premises than it is to have something in Notepad or Excel or whatever on a computer that's sitting there that somebody can grab that information. So that's when I look at simple things like that and go, listen, you're going to be better off. You've got a handful of passwords to 5 sites. Write them down. When you change them, make sure that you change them in that book. You know, if we go to change one or whatever, if I have to walk them through the process, then we'll go ahead and do that. But that way they have that information. So, again,
it's funny. I just actually did an audit right now to see how many I had in Bitwarden. I got about 710. So I got to probably go through.
Man, was that from like 1999 or what?
Oh, I'm sure it's been imported from imports because I was previously on LastPass, and then I went to it's LastPass to Bitwarden. So like LastPass I used for so many years and flipped over to Bitwarden about a year ago, and that's where everything's at now. So
let me give it, just because it's on my mind now, if I could interrupt. As we were going through these things, we were in the Google Chrome looking at the passwords, and we were going to, there's a kebab menu you click on, and it has the options. There was an option there for to edit the password. And she said, yeah, I did that on one of these. I remember doing that now that we see this, and I edited the password. So I put in a new password there, but it's when I try to log into the site, it doesn't work. And so I explained to her that you're editing the password that Google has remembered. You haven't actually changed the password on that site. So normals, people that are normal, they don't have this disease that we have of being intrigued with tech and computers. that they don't understand a lot of times the distinction between over here, this, when you edit the password that Google has remembered, that doesn't actually change the password on the site. So I think she had also edited the password in Norton LifeLock for some sites, and then it didn't work. So we had to draw that. I had to draw that distinction. There's just some very fine differences that normal people don't intuitively understand. So there's a training point.
Yeah, that's good. And I think you have like I said, you're onto something, because if you can make it to where a normal person can understand what they need to do, there's a ton of us out here that can point in your direction and go, hey, go check out this YouTube video from this guy here, DougBetts, because he can actually explain it to you and walk you through the process. And it's recorded, it's right there. And, you know, as far as I know, you're not charging for the YouTube channel, right?
No, not charging for the YouTube channel. When you grow an audience on YouTube, there are ways to earn money from it that does not involve money directly from the participants. So that's my intention there. I cannot afford to do it without it generating an income stream somewhere, sometime.
Right.
But I've seen enough of other YouTube channels and other websites that there's several different streams of income that can be derived that does not require charging money from the person that I'm working with.
Yep, that is so true. Paco, what are you going to do when you want to teach your customer something and you know what to do?
I'm going to go ahead and send them over to Live Windows Training over with DougBetts. That's what I'm going to do. No, I mean, in all seriousness, I mean, I think training has been requested from time to time. I think when it comes to specific products that we have, like, you know, we're doing a round of this past month for security awareness training, and we're using Wiser-training for all of that source. So, you know, kind of having a setup guide on how to use it, what to do, is fairly easy enough. But, you know, that type of deal, people are trying to figure out how to even set up the accounts in the first place. So it's stuff like that where it'll be kind of done per se, and then a template way. For a more customized way, we haven't had too many requests on that, and it's kind of just done on a one-by-one basis. But I think recording those sessions probably would make more sense, but that's kind of what we're doing right now.
One of the things John Dubinsky did, and I was impressed with this in his business, and I don't know that a lot of people know this, because he was a basically all you can eat buffet as far as IT support outside of project work. So obviously he's charging for project work and stuff like that. But one of the things he did in his package is once a month, he would go on site to each of his customers and sit down during, it might be a designated 3-hour time period, and everybody might get 10 or 15 minutes with him. And basically every employee that was in that company could come in and ask him questions. If they had something that they needed worked on specifically, he would take that time. He would walk them through the process on how to do things. And I sat there and I was amazed because people were coming in and they had real issues and real things that they needed to deal with. And he was there on a monthly basis going, hey, here's your time. So people would like save things up and go, okay, when John comes in, I'm going to give him this, this, and this, and get these things figured out. Some of them were quick fixes. Some of them would take time, but you could at least get something going and know kind of where your customer base is at. So I thought that was genius. And, kind of along the same lines, Doug, if you're teaching people out there on what to do in a certain situation, it's definitely going to be beneficial to them for the long haul, for sure. Right.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this going to you mentioned something earlier about for technicians. And I've had this frustration too, where I've got a problem that's happening and I go search maybe on YouTube or through Google, and I find these stock answers that basically show the basic configuration instructions for something. Or sometimes these websites where there are live people there, volunteers usually, that are trying to provide help. And it looks apparent that they've just gone to another tab, they've Googled it, and they've copied and pasted what they found. But they're not quite seeing the exact symptom. And even the ones that do YouTube videos that provide good information, and they're trying to be helpful, but they don't actually have the problem in front of them. And they're trying to demonstrate the fix on perhaps a virtual PC or a computer that's running completely normal. And they say, well, go into this screen, try this, try this, try this, try this over here. And they're not actually showing the symptoms. So one of the things I'd like to get the tech community involved with me is to where when they have a problem that they're having difficulty solving, get in touch with me. Let me put it on YouTube to actually show the real symptom and see if we can get other minds involved in trying to solve the problem. That's going to be like the pièce de résistance of what I'd like to get this YouTube channel to.
That is awesome. I think that's, again, it's something I think you've stumbled onto something that's needed. And here's a reason why I think it doesn't happen a lot of times. Is because it takes time and effort. Even to do this podcast on a weekly basis, it takes time and effort to do these things. And I don't think people realize that. I come up and it's like every week. Last Sunday, was it Sunday? Or it might have been Saturday. I can't remember what day. Anyways, one of the days, whenever I got my desk in or whatever and all my stuff, and I started going through things and started I had to pull an old desk out of here. I had to put in, rebuild this desk, put a desk in, move stuff around, rewire everything. And I just got done last night at 2:00 in the morning. So everything takes time. And it's like, I've got this little opportunity because I know that Friday our podcast comes up and I've got to be ready. Well, I have a new mixing board. And so I had to test that out, and hopefully it seems like everything's working now. We'll find out once we get the final recording, but seems like it's working good. And it's pretty simple. Plus we've got backup, so it's not that big a deal, but I always try to make my life a little bit simpler, and to have that information out there when we can provide information like what Doug's doing, then it helps people for the long term, and they can really get something out of it and get the real fixes. Because I've had software vendors who have remoted into my machine. I let them remote in because I couldn't remove their software. They get it up to the, some third level engineer. Like they're like, I don't know. So I go in again, taking the little bit of information I have. I go in and I figure it out. I get the software out of there, and they're like, I email them back. I go, hey, everything's fine. I got it off. Don't worry about it. And they email me back and go, hey, can you tell us how you did that? I'm like, are you serious? You wrote the software. I didn't write the software. Why should I know anything about this? But it's kind of what we do. So to have that information where you have a real problem, Doug, I think is key, because you don't see a whole lot of that where you have the symptoms, the problem right in front of your face. And you go, guess what? You try a couple things and it doesn't work. And you go, oh, I guess, okay, that's not the route to go. So let's try this and let's try that. And then maybe too, you can put a little synopsis in and go, hey, if you can watch the whole video if you want, but here down at the bottom of the video, or at this time mark is when we solve the problem. If you want to get the fix that actually worked for this particular problem.
Yeah, since my videos will be real time, I think there's going to be a real usefulness in being able to put that in the description to show different time increments, and even mention to people during the video that you can drag the playhead forward to get to what might be the next spot. In yesterday's session with Patty, somebody came to the door. I don't know if it was a delivery or what, and her dog was barking like crazy. And so I said, I'd put her system on mute. And I said, just go ahead and take care of it. That's okay. Don't worry about it. I'll be here when you come back. And the video just kept recording. So I would expect and kind of prompt the viewers of my videos, hey, sometimes you might want to scrub forward or go to the gear icon and play it on 2 times speed to get through. And then, I'd like to be able to put in those increments in the description so they can click on a spot. Yeah, I'm going to need to do that.
That's good. That's very good. All right, let's go ahead. We're going to take a quick break, and I want everyone to gather up some final thoughts as we kind of get on out of here today. I think we've got a lot of good information in moving forward, and definitely want to support in what Doug's doing. But if you would like to support this show, go to patreon.com/MSP Unplugged. And what that does is that gets you into our super secret Facebook group, which hopefully down the road will change to something a little bit less nefarious. Not that Facebook's nefarious, but they are. And so just kind of get us our own thing is what we want to do. But here's a way, because most people are on Facebook, so it's easy. That's why we use it. And you can basically get in this Facebook group. You can ask questions, and you actually have good answers from people, nice people that will, most of the time, yeah, they're always nice, because we tell them to be nice or we kick them out. But people are very, very helpful when it comes to solving problems. And this is one of the things that we do on a regular basis. That's why we show up on a week-to-week basis, because we want to share the information of what can help you in your business. And that's why we bring on guests like Doug, because we want to show that there's other people out there doing similar type things that can be very, very helpful in building your business. So I didn't know about Doug, right? And so Doug approached us and said, hey, he signed up for the show and he came on the show. So go to patreon.com/MSP Unplugged. And I want to thank all those that continuously support us. We definitely appreciate it. It pays for the little things, the little fees here and there. So everything definitely helps out. All right. So let's go ahead and Doug, any last thoughts, anything that we haven't brought up yet that you would like to share about either your business or the Live Windows training?
Yeah, I think probably the most important thing, the easiest way to find me and get into my world is the website, LiveWindowsTraining.com. It's very thin. There's not very much there. I expect it to be work in progress, but the landing page is just a handful of paragraphs that explain what I'm doing and how to request a session. And it's also got a link to the YouTube channel. So you can just click that link right there. It'll take you to my whole inventory of videos that are currently available. So you can play those. And that is even what has been evolving over time. So watching the more recent ones is probably more informative to what I'm doing now. And then as far as, did I cover there's another piece on that web page for technicians, and it has a link to another page that's very short, but kind of gives you an idea of where I'm starting at for technicians. And I'd really like that whole realm of a community of technicians to develop further and become a really valuable resource to the community. But then to step back away from me, one other thing I wanted to mention is, as you're working with your clients, keep in mind and have an appreciation that they are experts in their own lives or their own realm of knowledge. And it's been amazing to me, the highly educated people that I've come across that make the very simplest beginner of mistakes with their computers or misunderstandings with their computers. And I just went through that experience myself within the last couple of days. I'm doing a repair of my second-story balcony. And I got online with a contractor that does consulting through video. And he pointed out that he very respectfully and courteously, I didn't feel like I was being talked down to at all, but he pointed out to me some really basic misconceptions I had. And, so there I was on the other side of the fence and I was going to him as the expert, and I felt really nervous about that. So when your people are, when your clients and stuff ask you questions, sometimes they feel really nervous and feel like they're going to be showing themselves to be a bonehead idiot is what they're thinking in their minds. And they need to see from the expression on your face and your reaction that it's not that big of a deal, and that you fully respect them as a person, an intelligent person. So that would be my encouragement there.
That's awesome. And I think a lot of people forget that. Yeah. Put yourself in somebody else's shoes, because that's just the way life is. Paco, any lasting thoughts from you about this whole topic of training and taking care of your clients and trying to teach them something new or whatever?
Can't teach a dog new tricks. No, I'm kidding. So essentially, I think it's needed. I think training is one of the biggest pieces to help with user responsibility. I think that's why there's such an emphasis recently with, insurance companies for small businesses and things of that nature to make sure that, hey, are you doing any type of security awareness training, X amount of training? So training altogether, as much as you want to beat them with a ruler, repetitiveness is always going to be the biggest help on that route. And whether it's training on security or training on productivity, I think everything has its place, and
Very
it's all
good.
definitely
Very well
needed.
said. All right. So let's go ahead and tell you what, Doug, if people want to, I know you've mentioned it, but we're going to mention it one more time. If people wanted to find out more about you, where are some of the places they could go?
Well, the first and best place is the website, LiveWindowsTraining.com. To request a session, basically what that website tells you to do is send an email to me, DougBetts@LiveWindowsTraining.com. And you just give me a basic idea of what you want help with and how do you prefer that I contact you, and we'll put it together. Beyond that, I mean, the website's going to lead you to the YouTube channel. Of course, if you're interested in what I'm doing, then subscribe to it, ring the bell, and get notifications, all that kind of stuff. I really think that's about it.
All right. Very good. And I encourage everybody to go out there and subscribe to Doug's channel. It gets a little more recognition on YouTube. That actually does work as far as getting your recognition, kind of moving you up as it becomes more popularized. Paco, if people want to find out more about you, where would they go?
Well, they can go ahead and tune in into this fine programming every Friday afternoon at noon Eastern, 11 Central. And kind of wanted to poke back on something that we discussed before in regards to our event next year, TechCon Unplugged. We had put a poll in the Facebook private group to kind of get the feedback. We wanted to find out if, our audience wanted to know where we were and what dates they were going to be before we had tickets available, because we have some logistics to work out on the website to get ticket purchases available. And then we had posed the question if they should just wait till tickets are available till we announce. Well, as of this morning, there was a heavy side of announcing it because they want to know, and they want to know now. So in the interest of fairness, as we have always done in the past, we will be announcing to the Facebook group today on where we will be and those dates on the TechNut Unplugged in 2021. And then we will go ahead and announce where we will be next Friday, and let everyone know where we will be, what are the dates, and when to expect tickets coming soon.
Very good. I'm excited. It's we got some good things planned. Actually, Paco did most of the planning, but I'm just along for the ride. So it's good stuff. But I'm excited because it's gonna be good. I'm just telling you.
I agree.
All right. If you want, or not if you want, go ahead and watch live. Hang out in the chat room over on youtube.com/MSP Unplugged. As all those YouTubers say, hit the subscribe button, ring the bell so you get notifications, all that kind of stuff. And you can also use your favorite podcasting app on whatever phone you're using, iPhone or Android, whatever software you're using to listen to podcasts. And you can actually subscribe to the show and get it to you every single week without you having to do anything. So when you're in the car driving around, you can listen to that no problem. I want to thank everyone for listening, and we'll see you next time on MSP Unplugged.